Hi, my name is Ted St. John. I'm with Region 13, as he mentioned, which is Ashtabula, Geauga, Lake, and Portage. I'm the chief executive for Hopetown, Ohio, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And we serve adults with addiction. It's more of an ecosystem, housing, employment, and transportation and recovery supports. I'm also a person with lived experience in long-term recovery. 2/20 of '09, I made a decision. And that decision came after 27 years of active addiction, progressive. At first for me, it started out as fun. Then it became a habit, and then it became necessary. And when it became necessary, I felt that shame and that trap. And I lived in that for years. And it was a secret. At least I thought it was, or I tried to keep it that way as to the extent of what was happening with me. And I get involved in a lot of conversations, right? And I hear, things like we grew up with, which is, whoa, weed is the gateway drug, well, so is nicotine. And so is trauma. And trauma is a life-changing event, right? That's all it is. It's just a life-changing event. It could be different for anyone. We've all had different levels of trauma based upon a person's resilience, which the type of trauma I had, I wasn't very resilient to, and it was a solution for me. Using was a solution for me. It worked, but it has consequences. And, I'm not a person who gets involved with conversations about, is it a disease? Is it a choice? It doesn't matter to me. The fact is, once I lost my choice, regardless of how it happened or whose fault it was, it's still my responsibility because it's treatable. Addiction is treatable. But it takes the right conditions, and it takes the right supports, and it takes the right timing. But ultimately, it takes for me to make that decision. On 2/20 of '09, I made that decision. I come from a series of St. John men who had mental health and addiction, and they split. And my goal was to break the cycle. I became the cycle. I had an episode, an experience. I've been sitting on Region 13 for the last year and a half, being part of this monthly process. And I was honored to be asked to be part of this. But when I was invited to become a state board or a foundation board director, and I walked in the front of this building, I had an experience because from '03, the first time I tried an Oxycontin, to '09, without a day in between, other than some periods of Suboxone and methadone to bridge the gaps, I was a slave to that drug. And it took everything from me. So for this guy from Portage County to be walking into this building across the street from that house to be part of the distribution of the opioid settlement funds, this couldn't hit me deeper than that. I didn't expect it to hit me that deeply. What I can say is I am honored. And I'm proud to be a person with addiction. I'm proud to be a person with recovery. I like to be able to share my story because I know the impact that it has, especially on the families, the loved ones of us. Because as much as we like to think that we're unique, the reality is our family suffered worse than we did because they didn't get to buffer it. They didn't get to use. They just had to suffer and they had no control of it. Ultimately, again, it doesn't matter how we got here. The fact is, it's my responsibility, and it's our responsibility as a person with addiction to treat it. And so I do that daily to the best of my ability. And so far it's worked because I never had any periods of abstinence from 12 to 39. I'm getting ready to turn 55. Other than I remembered I was in basic training in the Air Force. I was abstinent during that period. Other than that, I never knew how to live without this. And it might be hard to understand, but it doesn't matter. We don't need to understand it. We just need to support it. And that's what we're doing here. And I'm really excited about the timing of this. I'm really honored to be part of this team and to get to meet you folks. And just to participate in the solution. Because it's humiliating and painful to be stuck in the problem when it repeats every single day. Not today. Thanks for your time.